So Pam Furlong, the very end, she has worked for the Tennessee Vocational Rehab for the last 15 years. And she started at the Tennessee Rehab Center right here in Smyrna. And she now serves the Middle Tennessee area manager and oversees 6 community TRCs across the mid-state. And of course, she's very passionate about her work because she is still in it and doing amazing things. And so she is helping every Tennessean find meaningful employment and to help employers find employees. So that is Pam Furlong. We have Carrie Berna. Okay. Is currently serving as the State Director of Employment Innovation and Community Inclusion for the Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. That is a long card.
You know,
That's a lot there. So previously she worked for the Division of TennCare. There are more seats and we can bring more in if you guys need. She was also a travel trainer who taught people with disabilities how to take the fixed route transit system in Chicago. That's a big task right there. And she received her master's degree from the University of Illinois at Chicago in Disability and Human Development and a Bachelor of Arts from Tulane. So, and her, you guys are going to talk about all your contact information and stuff. People can get that. And then Nick Orifice.
I'll take care of it. It's a Rafus.
I was a teacher, so.
You don't want to have to read that whole thing, do you?
Okay, I'm just going to say he's currently a regional HR manager at Advanced Auto Parts. And you help our transportation classes at the high school level, and so I will thank you for that. And he's been in human resources, and he wants to take it away.
Yeah, I've been in HR for 20 years, supply chain, and what I'm here to kind of discuss from Advanced Auto Parts aspect is the hiring persons with disabilities. I've been involved with that for 2 years. I manage 7 distribution centers from here to California, and 2 years ago we started our first one in Denver, Colorado. So as we kind of go through the questions, hopefully I can give you an aspect of the employer's view on what it's like starting a program up like that, and maybe kind of some of the, what I have called the false hearings. I know that sounds crazy, and just kind of talk about how we've kind of progressed through that type of program.
You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Amber Good. I am the Special Education Transition Case Manager. I primarily do work-based learning on the special ed side, and I work with Project Search, which is why I'm primarily here today. And I help the Transition Academy for Rutherford County Schools.
So you have an employer or an employee group too that you are working with as well. So
Yes, I do.
all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and ask the first question, and if you want to jump in and answer it, or if we just kind of want to go down the row, however you guys want to do that, we will move it right along. So we'll start with Nick. How does employing people with disabilities improve business outcomes?
Yeah, I'll be careful because I tend to just talk and talk and talk. I mean, for us, what we've noticed, it really builds a different culture within your warehouses. So in the DC's distribution center, that I'm involved with, which currently are 3 of them, we've right off the bat we see a totally different culture basis. We've brought in individuals with disabilities, because what we tend to do is before we even roll out a program, we train our management team, and then we actually train our hourly team. And it's amazing once you sit down with your hourly team. You start hearing things like, I'm proud of this because I had an aunt, an uncle, a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister had a disability in their entire lives. They've not been able to work. So right off the bat, the fact that as a company, you're looking at a program like this and you're including your team members, so it's not just a corporate kind of, hey, we're doing this no matter what you think, is you get them to get the buy-in on it. And because at the end of the day, your hourly team members, your frontline managers, they're the ones who are really going to manage this program. I mean, really all I am, along with some of our partners like the James Emmett Company, which I can talk about them a little bit, we're kind of like the key, the door openers, and then we help facilitate. But after that, for us, the biggest thing I can see is your culture changes. We've seen retention rates drop, we've seen turnover rates drop, retention rates go up. And then just overall, I mean, I hate to say this, it's not something that we do just to say we do it. We truly look at it as a workforce. I looked at a number today, and I'm really bad at this, but I think it was the census a few years ago. There's 33 million people from the age of 16 to 64 with a disability. And right now you've got 55% of them that are working. It's a huge workforce. And so for us, it's a benefit. For those individuals, it's a benefit. And I tend to get choked up, but as I go through this program and meet with parents, or individuals who've got disabilities, it's really about providing a service for them, but we're not creating a job. We have expectations of them when they come in, and we hold them to the same standards. Now, we may give them, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, a little more to learn stuff. We understand it based on their, I like calling it their ability, but I know it's depending on their disability. We kind of have to manage that. And, with our normal team members, there's an expectation of 4-week ramp up. With a person with disability, it could be 8 weeks, right? It all depends on what the disability is. Recently, I told you I was going to keep talking.
All right, you got 1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute, yeah. So, recently, we've started hiring individuals of no hearing in Nashville. And so just right off the bat, we had to create some real easy things like text to talk. Remember the old Etch-a-Sketch boards, but now you use a pen. Those are $5 a piece. So to get back to your question, ultimately, we've changed our culture, and we've changed how we've looked at it, and we become more inclusive to the entire workforce, just not a certain segment.
Awesome, thank
Sorry.
you very much. No, it's great. Amber?
Okay, so I work,
Okay.
I work with Project Search, which currently we are at NBC Suites. This is our 8th year where we've had interns. We have anywhere from 6 to 12 interns. This year we have 9. Overall, what we see is when we bring these students in, there's usually a misconception of people who are newer to the company. Like this year, it's a whole different ballgame because of COVID, so we have a whole different group of actual staff there. So they're all learning about what we do and who we are, because the misconception is they see us, they think we're employees, so which is great. They see us as fitting in. But the thing is, sometimes they don't see that ability. We teach them to see the ability versus the disability, because some of us stand out because we don't have a visible disability, but of course some of us, But primarily, whenever we go in, we change their outlook on what a student can and can't do, because they see them and think, I don't think they can do this, and then we blow them away because they actually do better than a lot of the employees, and then embassy wants to pull them and hire them. And we try to keep from that because our students' primary goal is it's student driven, so of course they're gonna go in, they're gonna set goals. I'm their employment planner, and we base their whole entire internship, they get 3 of them, around that goal. So if they say wanna go to his advanced auto parts, we would have to go and look inside of how would that fit into Embassy Suites, because there's so many options. Since it's a conference center, that we would put them in engineering. We would actually go we do a security internship. We might go and have them do that because you do have a security station. We'd also look into other areas like to teach them stamina. We'd go throw them out in the conference center, because you've got to go out and throw conferences for anywhere from a little, 50, all the way up to thousands of people that come through that conference center every year just to do what we do. But so really honestly, the outcome, it blows everybody away, and we keep those. We have employees there that were pulled back from COVID that were our interns. They specifically called them because they saw the value in them when they laid them off for COVID. So therefore, they see, somebody with a disability, there's no stopping them. They want a purpose, they want a paycheck, they want to be treated just like you and me. There's no reason why they can't be. Also,
Thank you. Carrie?
So just to reiterate what Amber and Nick have already touched on, people with disabilities have, 1/5 of the U.S. population identifies as having a disability, and that's over $8 trillion in spending power. And so when you hire someone with a disability, you learn how to tailor your product, tailor your service, your business to meet those person's needs, and then you can better serve that huge swath of the population that has all that money to spend essentially. Nick already spoke about the morale and how it really boosts your community and your culture, and I think that's really important. But also, I want you to remember that people with disabilities, we aren't asking for you to do something special. We're not looking for you to carve out a section of your work or make a special space in your warehouse. We are really looking to integrate into your company, integrate into your culture, and just become another worker as you or I would want to be treated. So we really aren't looking for anything special here. We're just looking for you to, allow the person to get into the door, give them a chance, and really understand how they can serve your needs, as well as, they can get the support that they need to be truly excel in that position as well.
Thank you. Pam?
Okay, so I'm here representing vocational rehabilitation, and it's a 100-year-old federal program that's administered by the state. And where we kind of fall into this is, like with Nick, we are individuals with disabilities that need accommodations. We can help with those accommodations, job coaching, and we partner with anybody that was in here for the American Job Center presentation, we partner with them and a lot of the programs that they use. So we can pay some on-the-job training, things like that. We can provide job coaches, and we partner with the school system with Project Search because they require a school teacher to teach the skills, but then they use a Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities provider agency to provide the job coaching, and then VR pays for it. So, yeah. And then, hopefully after all the training, we get them into an employer like Nick's place. So, yeah.
Thank you. So I'm gonna throw out question number 2, and you guys can kind of jump in how you want. How does providing accommodations to employees with disabilities improve overall business outcomes? That may be.
Yeah, I mean, I think right off the bat, who in the room here is working for a private company, HR? Raise your hand. What's your number one issue today?
Get people in the door.
Getting people in the door. So, I think what we've recognized, all of us recognize as a company, is the day of 5 days a week, 8 hours a day is gone, right? So the biggest word we now is flexibility. And what we have found out with these individuals, and I hate saying it that way, guys, so first of all, I should have referenced, when you're dealing with persons with disability, and I think you and I have talked about this before, the political name, and I'll throw that out the window because I'm terrible at it, so I think you have to create a safe space when you're talking about this.
And everybody wants to be called something different.
Everybody wants, yeah.
So it does, even in the school system, I've come across so many different, everybody wants to be called something different, so don't be offended when they come back at you, because even me doing this for 12 years now, I sometimes come off wrong, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, this is my passion.
So sometimes
Well,
you might hear me say something a little different, but anyway.
Well, and you're talking about this next part A and B of this question is about misconceptions
Yeah.
about providing
Yeah,
those
so,
accommodations.
so,
And then some additional, information about what you've had to do to make your workplace, or as you guys go
Yeah.
into businesses, what they have to do, if anything, to help with the misconceptions and, just to see how it does, improve your overall business.
yeah. I mean, for us, like I said, we have tapped into a new workforce that's full-time, part-time. It's no different, except now we've kind of opened the doors to individuals and said, hey, we've got a home for you. It's a partnership. We need to make sure it's a right fit for you, and we'll talk about probably how that process works with us and how we do it. But really, for us, it's another facet avenue of recruiting that your company has to realize. Yes, there's some time and effort that goes into it, but the long term is the payoff. And I'm sure somebody smarter than me up here probably has the retention numbers, but it's like ridiculous. Like we have seen in the short term that we've hired individuals, it's like their retention rate's like 90-something%. I mean, it's crazy. Now, the only downside, if I would say so far that I've run into, and it's not a downside, is when you start talking about benefits that they receive. If you're with a company like ours where you've got a tier pay where, after so long you get increases, when you start getting so much increase and they start making so much money, there's conversations that happen, whether it's cutting their hours, because the first thing they want to say is, I don't want the increase, and we're like, yeah, we can't do that, right? This is our goal. So now you have to start working with them on hours, and then there's a conversation sometimes with them, the employee, and their support system to say, look, we can do this, we can move them to 20 hours a week, or we can increase their hours and they can rely less on the government, monies that they get. And that's a decision they have to make. And that was something new that I started dealing with this year, because we now have some more tenured team members that have come to this program. And, in some of our DCs, in 2 years, you're making $20-something an hour. So it's starting to get up there. So, but overall, I mean, again, long-winded answer, it's another workforce, another group to tap into,
So Nick, I just want to add one thing. I think you hit on a really important piece. So as you're looking at getting recruits into the door, I would ask you to rethink your requirements for these positions. So some positions might say, okay, you have to read and write at a 6th grade level. Well, is that true? Could someone use their screen reader? Could they have a talk-to-text option? Is there another way that they could meet that requirement? And so a lot of our applicants are getting screened out. Sometimes you have a computer screening them out, when in reality, we could provide that support to, overcome that, quote-unquote barrier. The Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities has a really creative use of technology in the workplace. And so we can come in with our supports and provide people with all sorts of different technology to be successful on that job, to potentially, meet that, requirement on the front end. And so I really would encourage you to sit down with your requirements, with your job application, and think, okay, does someone really need a driver's license? They've got reliable transportation to and from work. Okay, what does that look like for that employee? And so maybe we can, stop screening out folks on the front end and allow more people into your door in that process.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to that, because my first year when I started onboarding students with companies, one of the primary things was, like she said, that they get on there on that website and fill out their application, and they're automatically knocked out because a lot of them can't fully read, can't fully comprehend, but they can do that job like nobody's business.
Yeah.
So that's a big obstacle that we've come to. Even I onboarded a student with a Kroger company, and I had to sit with that student while he did all of his computer-based learning, because he couldn't read it. He could comprehend it as I was reading it to him, but he couldn't read it. So if he had to do that alone, he would have failed out of that. So, and a lot of ours don't even make it past that interview, because again, they're nervous, they don't know what to say, they freeze up, and they look like they don't know what they're doing. But when we've trained them for this entire year for their internship, they knew perfectly how to communicate with others, they knew the job, they knew how to pick it up quickly. We went and tried to place them somewhere where we didn't think they'd be successful, and we definitely wouldn't place them somewhere where they didn't want to be. So, because it's student driven, so.
I was just gonna, we were talking about accommodations and just, a couple little stats that may be of interest, and they're in some of the literature from the Job Center. $500, most accommodations are $500 or less that the employer would have to pay. 56% of individuals with disabilities that go to work require no accommodations. So, that's just something to think about. I think, employers are a little scared of what it might cost them, and, it's really gonna be less than $500.
Actually, one last thing, and we can move on. I just want to bring up, there's a really awesome resource about job accommodations. It's called the JAN Network, Job Accommodation Network, AskJN.org, and they have an employer tab, and on that tab, you can filter by disability and give you accommodation. It can give you guidance, what can and do not do. I know there's a lot of, concern about, okay, am I going to step over some boundaries or do something wrong? This will be a great resource for that. Also, they offer employee trainings. They can come in and work with you one-on-one to help you kind of look at your work site and make sure that you're providing those appropriate accommodations. And so I think, as we're looking at some really concrete takeaways, I would really encourage you to look at that as you're thinking about how do I make my work site more inclusive.
Thank you.
So that's AskJN.
.org. Yeah.
Is that J-A?
You just Google Jan, it comes up.
Yeah, it's AskJAN.org.
And really quick on that, we actually use a company called the James Emmett Company. So I think it's jamesemmettcompany.com. That's something we chose to do, and James Emmett Company, James, he's been on almost every one of the calls since I've been with with this program, who's the president of the company, he has a disability, not his, it's a visual disability, but he helped us really build our training for our management team, for our hourly team, and what he does and his team. We meet on a weekly basis. We have conference calls with individuals, in the VR community. We're always inviting them on the call. And so they help us kind of manage all of this, but you're right. I mean, I've been on the Jan side. Because we're such a larger company and not local based, it's easier to use an agency like them because they can handle it, on a national basis, making those contacts, especially as we're looking at various states to roll this out in where our DCs are. We may not have the contacts there, and so they help us with that.
I have a question for Nick. You hit on hotbed that I want to know a little bit more about. You talked about getting those employees into your workforce, making the difference with them, and then at some point they come and they say, we need to talk about a restricted schedule, or I need to make less than a certain amount of money. What percentage of the people that you brought in would you say that later became an issue?
Less than 2%. Now, remember, I've only been in this program, I've only had 3 DCs in this program for 2 years, so it's still new, but it has happened. But I'd say in Nashville, we had 2 people that we had to have that conversation with. They're still working with us. Well, I'm rephrasing. One is still working, one lady. What happened is she started working, she was full-time. I mean, and again, not to be totally transparent, she came to a job fair, she never said anything, we hired her, and then she came off and said, hey, she heard that we had this program, she goes, oh, I have a disability. Like, oh, great, great, we're glad to have you. I mean, that's how it was. Then down the road, I guess something happened where she finally got something from the government, and at that point, she said she met with her legal or support staff, and they were like, it's probably better that you don't work. And I mean, that was the craziest thing I heard, but it kind of opened my eyes. But yeah, it's less than 1%.
So for context, what we're talking about is sometimes people are concerned about losing their benefits, losing their insurance and whatnot. And I do want to make you aware there's resources for folks who need those conversations. So if they come to you and say, I don't know what to do, you can connect them with benefits counselors. There's someone we call CWIC, Community Workforce Incentive Counselors. They're employed by the Tennessee Disability Coalition, and that is their job, to sit down and crunch those numbers with those folks. And then they can come back to you and show you those numbers. If I work at this rate, at these amount of hours, this is what I need to do. And so, there are ways for you to go in there and be informed of how to have those conversations.
And we've been fortunate enough, most of our employees have that support system already in place. So I've not had to get involved with any of that as of right now.
And most of the time, those CWICs will tell their individuals that they're working with that it's always better to work. Yeah.
And that's something that they would have access to, or
Yes.
employers would also
Yes.
have. So if we just said, maybe it's best that you have a conversation with your students
Yes,
and bring
exactly.
back the data, and we can review it with you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how that would work.
Could you guys tell me what CWIC is again?
Community Workforce Incentive Counselors, coordinators, counselors.
And they're found within the Social Security Department.
And so if you go to the Tennessee Disability Coalition website, they'll be listed there. And they're located, throughout the whole state in different regions. And then I'm happy to connect you all with any of the stuff that I'm throwing out. If you just feel free to email me, I'd be happy to shoot you websites and all those things.
All right, so the next question I have is, please explain the Project Search program and how businesses can partner with Project Search.
Okay, so Project Search came about, it initially started up in Ohio, and since then, it's expanded all across the globe. What happened was, in Rutherford County, we had a need for something else for our transitioning students who are aged 18 to 22, and of course, they're learning transition skills to integrate into the community. Part of that integration is employment. Kay Kowalski, who is our actual head of SPED, is one of the writers that did the grant to help us get Project Search, and I guess she worked with you guys. So I wasn't there for the original opening, which was 8 years ago. But since then, we've been really successful with placing our students into places of employment, or some of them might need a little additional help with a job coach after they leave us, which we throw over to the vocation rehab side, and they get job coach support. They get supported employment with the job coach to initially start them out into a job. But primarily, Project Search is, the whole point of it is for our students to get immersed completely into a business and learn how to work. We want them there making mistakes. We want them there interacting with people the right and wrong way. We want to be able to be their cushion before they leave us. Because a lot of companies, you know, if you have employees that make mistakes, they can get terminated immediately. With our program, they don't get terminated immediately. We help them work through what their problem is. We initially do employment planning meetings throughout the year with the students. We get what their goal is in life, and that might change. Like, we might throw them into an internship, and they might realize that they really hate to talk to people. Like, you know, they want to be left alone, and they work best alone. That's great. We learn that. Or we might learn that they are really actually talkative when they come in super quiet. You know, in a business, you might think that's a little combative, that they don't want to talk to you. Well, they might not know how to do that. So we're there to be their social development. And also, we have students that come in, and I swear to you, they come in and they haven't worked as hard as we've ever worked them. So they come in exhausted, and you know, they don't want to do it, but we keep pushing them until they get to that stamina that you actually need for your employee. So part of Project Search is we do have a teacher, which I really wish you could have been here. It's Elizabeth Kirby. She is their primary person to go to. She teaches them coursework for 45 minutes. And then they actually go out and do their entire internship for the day. And it might vary because we have 3 internships. So they each get it set for their goal, and they start out, and a typical day at Project Search is they come in and their clock-in time is 9 a.m. Of course, the school system starts at 8:30. We are their transportation, or this past year, we actually gave it up to parents if they wanted to drop their student off, because that's really important if they can't transport themselves, that they learn that their child, their student, their intern, they need to get to work, and they need to know it now. Because a lot of times you have teenagers that come in and they don't realize the whole involvement of getting to and from work. The parents learn that because some of them still rely on their families once they leave us. Some of them will go out to be on their own. We actually help with that too. And we look towards our vocational rehab counselor who sits in the meetings too, who helps us plan transportation. She also helps with uniforms and all of that stuff. Is there anything I'm missing on that? Did y'all help us?
They pay for the job coach that's provided.
Oh yeah,
by
they pay for the
this.
job coach. You don't have to worry about that. You guys don't have to worry about that. But pretty much the businesses can partner with us by opening the doors, because actually we threw out the year before COVID ruined us all. But we actually threw out the ideas of actually taking our internships and putting them inside businesses and have the students actually go into that business industry that they want to be in, to see if that fits them. And this is all unpaid internship because it's 100% a school program. They are learning. They're not there to work for you. They're there to work for themselves in their education program. So that's something that we started to do, or we started to try to do last year because of COVID. The hotel almost completely shut down, and we literally were a ghost town, and we were learning with nothing. So we were actually trying to just make up jobs that our students wanted, so we had to figure it out. So that's some place where you guys could actually help us, is letting our interns actually come into your doors and kind of see what you do if they're interested in your career path. So, anybody have any questions?
Is that during school hours then?
Yes, it's primarily during school hours. It's a school day. So they are actually leaving their home schools at 8:30 in the morning, and we transport them there, get them there by 9, and they stay all the way till 2:15, 2:30, whenever their ride gets back, and then they go back to their schools. Because it is a school day program, they are only there during school hours. So if we have a snow day, they're not there. If we have half days, they're not there. So, but it is 100% a school-driven program, and we are partnered with vocational rehab, and our current partner is Journeys for Living. Journeys Community Living. Yeah, Journeys Community Living. So
What are their ages that are in this program?
they have to be graduated seniors, so they can be 17. We want them at 18 to 22, and the primary goal is for it to be their last year that they're with us, because of their pathway, they are there till 22. So they're either there till age 22, or the youngest we've graduated out is 18. So, anything else?
How can businesses connect with people with disabilities who are ready to work?
Yeah, for us, like I said, it goes back to, creating the program and working with, an agency like James Emmett Company who knows, they're the one who kind of educated me about VR and all these different people that you can reach out to. So I think it's because we're obviously a US company or, nationwide company, we went that route. I think you've already heard there's several opportunities here with individuals who can give you that information. And I want to go back to, you had said about $500 cost. So I can tell you the 2 years I've been here, we have spent $4,000. And the only reason we did that is one of our team members that was hard of hearing did not have any type of benefits, support. So we chose to pay for 4 days through, somebody shoot me, what's the
Bridges.
name? Bridges. Yeah, Bridges, to send an interpreter out for 4 days. But everybody else that we've had in, usually you work with their job coach. They have all that set up. So I mean, the undue hardship on us has been minimal, if any. Total transparency, we are still working on the 100% blind, just because we're a warehouse, right? And you guys know if you've been in a warehouse, but our call center and our corporate office is starting to now recruit persons with disability or blind because it's very minimal cost on computer services that they can use. We're not there yet in warehouses, but we're not opposed. We've done some tours, and we continue to work with our job coaches and just individuals who help us kind of understand what we can and cannot do. So.
Anyone else like to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to put a plug in for the folks that we support. Contact me directly. We have, 3 employment providers in Murfreesboro, 1 in Smyrna, 1 in Antioch, and 13 in Nashville. That means that all of those agencies support people looking for jobs today. And so I can put you in touch with those providers who then know, who they're supporting, what kind of skills they have, and we can determine if that's a match. Because we do a lot of work on the front end to make sure that we're matching folks so that they do actually, excel at those jobs and stay for a long time. And so I think Commissioner Turner gave out my card, but I have some, if you didn't get that information, feel free to.
And you can, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, and you can always contact vocational rehab directly at the local level, or we also have a business services unit that unit will go out and address businesses. They'll most likely be the one to meet with all of you, the HR person, and and then we help provide the individual to work, but they are the ones that come in and work at your level, and then we fill in the blanks.
All right, so the last question that I have prepared is please speak to any other resources on the state or local level that can help businesses find potential employees of all abilities.
Well, we of course partner with the schools and the job center. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act was passed in 2014. There's a lot of incentives written into that legislation that both rehab and the job centers are using. So, use your job center. There's a lot of things there going on.
I would like to add, I work for the VA, and I have a pool of folks too, of veterans who have a disability and they're looking for employment. So I too a lot of these services that they're talking about, I can provide those as well, or can work with these other agencies if our veterans need those services.
So,
I'm sorry, Dean, there's a representative at the job center as well, right?
Yes,
A
there is a
veterans
DDOT.
rep.
I'm really glad you brought up the veteran population. Obviously, that's important as well. So I actually have some ideas, not about calling me directly, but just like kind of thinking creatively about how you can be a little bit more inclusive in your hiring practices. So for example, I know at the session before in here, they spoke about the importance of social media. That's such a great resource to connect with disability job seekers who have a disability. There's LinkedIn groups for this purpose: Disability Student Services Professional, Diversity and Disability at Work, Professionals with Disabilities. So if you can connect with those groups, you could find local talent pools in your community. I'd also encourage you to post on job boards that are targeted to employers with disabilities. There's a great resource network. It's called the Employer Assistance Resource Network on Disability, and that lists all of the disability-focused job boards. I'd be happy to connect with that information as well. It's AskJNorg. That's where you can find that information. And then I'd also encourage you to think about how you're advertising these job board, these positions. And so the state has this push, and we call it plain language push. And with that, it's more than a reading level. It's really about writing things in a way that the first time you read it, you can understand it. And the state has a resource at the Developmental Disability Council that should be happy to work with you to help you adapt your job postings, your public announcements, maybe whatever you're putting on social media, so that you actually are attracting, folks of, different abilities as well. And so again, connect with me. I'd be happy to connect with you. Her name is Jolene Sharp, and she was so excited when I said, I'm going to send businesses your way, and she couldn't wait. So, yeah.
Well, we have about 10 minutes left of our time together. Is there anything that you guys would like to say that maybe we can hit on with the questions? And then if there are any questions from our audience, we can address those as well. You want to take questions first? Okay, Rebecca.
This is more of a personal, I'm a parent of a 20-year-old who has a disability, and he's participating in the work-based learning in a Rutherford County school. So he goes to Blackman.
Okay.
Talk. Yeah. So I just want to say thank you. It's encouraging as a parent to hear everything that's happened. So thank you.
And on that note, I just want to say that if you know of anyone that has a disability and is a student, of high school age, let those parents know, your employees, let those parents know that this is available. We have work-based learning. My students actually start their junior year. There's a 2-hour time slot where they go into a business and do an unpaid internship, either in the morning or the afternoon in a business, and they get job skills, because that's a primary thing that they have to go into project search. They've got to do work-based learning to get into project search, because they've got to have that experience first in a business to know what they're getting themselves into. And we actually interview them at the beginning of project search, and they have to say that they want to be there. If they tell our business liaison at Embassy, who's the HR person who does all the hiring, if they say, I don't want to be here, they don't get to be there. And a parent can't change that, a guardian can't change that. That student has to say, I want to be there. So when you pick a student that we have from our program and hire them, that student wanted to be there, that student wanted to work, that student wanted to get a job. It's 100% student driven, and we want them to pick their own life, because I wouldn't want my parents when I was a teenager to pick my life for me. We don't want to pick their lives for them. We help them figure out what they want to do. I just want to put it out there that every student we put out, we want them to know that this student wanted to come work for you. They researched it, they helped with the application process, and we gave them very minimal help. We didn't decide for them what they wanted to do. They decided for themselves. And that's why we have to keep Embassy at bay, because they always want to steal our people. But we tell them, no, it's up to them. We had so many students offered so many jobs last year, and they kept turning them down because they don't want to work there. They want to work somewhere else, and we got them there. So just keep that in mind. If y'all ever wanted to reach out and tap into our resource, that would be great. But yeah.
Question back there.
No, I don't have a question. We work for Connections Incorporated, and that's what we do. We assist individuals with intellectual disabilities, and they have a day program that just started with ECF, Employment Community First. So we're trying to basically get the individuals ready for the workforce, independence, and all that stuff. So if y'all ever want, we have pamphlets, y'all ever want to come by and see the day center and how we do. We also have supported living homes and family days. So if you like one. Yes, ma'am, you're asking.
And I have several students that do EFC choices, so.
Yeah, that's what we do, yes,
Are y'all
ma'am.
in Rutherford?
We are all over.
Okay.
Middle, let me not say all over.
Okay.
Middle. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, are there any, yes, ma'am.
So can y'all talk about, like for you and for the others that you know, you've placed a lot of people successfully, the different types of disabilities we're talking about? So I'm particularly curious about neurodiversity and mental health issues that are maybe less visible, and how you might train your employees to handle people who have disabilities that are less obvious.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously we all know there's visuals, right? So I would say visually, that probably makes up 10% of our placement. So obviously the rest of it, and again, this is where that safe space is, the non-visual ones. Because at the end of the day, unless the job coach or somebody, you know, that team member tells us, I mean, we try to understand. And so it's treated no different. Now, so I'll give you an example. We had a team member who we hired, this young man, came through, great, did everything, didn't help. Come to find out he had some anger management issues. So when we talk about accommodations, right, I worked with his job coach as we went through this process. We invited the job coach to come in and sit down when we had to issue a corrective action. And we partnered with them, the support, and with our managers to manage the situation. Now, ultimately, we ended up releasing him because we as a team, and this is where you probably have to give a little of your time. It's not a, yep, he can first grade, second grade, third grade, he's gone. It's more of a, how can we help? Is there something we're doing wrong? And if not, this is what we're seeing. Let's now work with the job coach and make sure they have that support system. And come to find out, this young man did have classes that he was going to outside for anger issues. So it was really just a total team effort to get that individual. But at the end of the day, we had to make a decision. The job coach supported that decision, and we ended his assignment. So I know I probably didn't answer, but I don't dive into that unless once we bring those individuals in with their support system and look to hire them, then we let them kind of help us understand where they may need that extra support or that accommodation. And then we work with them on that. But I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to open your doors up and really, like, when I first started in HR, and for you guys who've been as long as mine, when you hear things like, well, they want to have the job coach in the warehouse, you're like, oh, we can't do that. We're not allowed. Job coaches are more than welcome. We have job coaches that, in one of our DCs, they've been there for a year, to the point where, guess what they do? They help now train anybody who comes in with that disability. So you've got to be able to open your door to those individuals and let them be part of your support team. You know, we put them through the same training we do as our team members, and we've let their support staff come through and go through that safety training too. So again, it becomes a team effort. And so I told, honestly, I manage 7 distribution centers. I don't have time to sit there and build that, so I have to rely on all the support systems that these ladies are talking about here. All I'm really now is sort of a gatekeeper, and right now the doors are wide open because we need people. And then it's just kind of understanding transportation. We know that's a big issue, right? That unfortunately, where we're located in Laverne, if you know where we're at over there, kind of Laverne, Smyrna, it's terrible. There's no buses, right? So there's a lot of those things that I try to get involved with, but I can't do it alone, so I have to report on all the support from family members to their job coaches and stuff like that.
So Nick, if I can jump in really quickly, it's not your job as employers to understand someone's diagnosis and what that means for, you know, them working. It's our job at the state, at Connexus level, to provide those supports and understand what that means. So really, when you're getting a worker, you're getting someone who has the appropriate supports for that disability to be successful. And so I don't feel like you need to understand, well, this means, this disability means that, and this, it's really not your job. That's on our level. And so don't think about it like that. Think about it as if you're getting any other employee without a disability. It does not change the expectations and, you know, what they can achieve in that position.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that too, because I do work so closely with businesses and students. It really isn't your job. It would be like you coming into work. We never know when we might have like a mental snap, or we never know when something might come up. It's gonna be the same with students because we treat them exactly the same as you and me. Like, there's no difference. To me, when I see a student with a disability, I don't see that disability, I see the student. I do not see a disability whatsoever. So I treat them as all of their disabilities that are visual are invisible to me. And that's really how you should treat your employees too, and especially the ones that we give you, because we have already taught them. You self-advocate for yourself. If they have supports, we make sure that they get that support before they leave us. And if you guys have a problem, then usually, from my experience, I've had that employer directly call me and say, you know, Bill over here, he's wandering off, he's not doing what he's supposed to, we're really gonna have a problem, we might have to cut him. I go in and I figure out what's wrong with Bill. That's what I do. I go in and see, you know, did you have a bad day? Is there a reason why you're disappearing from your station? You know, and then I work with them through that. And if I can't help them, then it's on the student themselves. Like, because it's just like any other adult. If you can't help yourself, then that's just part of it. And then we have to help them find a new place to work because it might have just been not a fit for them. So don't ever look at their disability, always look at their ability, because they're the same as you and me, so.
Do you have a question?
I did. Do you guys find, and we've talked about a lot of different programs, vocational rehab, and there's the job centers, the programs at the state, that there's overlap in what you guys do?
That's why we're all sitting here.
Yeah, we all work together.
There's overlap with us. You were here for the job center. There's a lot of overlap. Dee and Shirley with the VA is sitting back there. You know, she does the same thing, you know, just at the federal level that we do at the state level.
And
I go at the county.
And it really doesn't matter if the job coach is being funded by my department or the.
As long as
her
they
department.
get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
gonna be, they're gonna be there to support the person.
Just from the employer standpoint, which is not my standpoint, but thinking about the employer standpoint might be a little overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Where do you go first? I mean, who do I talk to about this particular issue? I'm sure you can probably relate to that. Is there a directory somewhere that shows like every workforce related?
That sounds amazing.
That would be something great to create.
Yeah, because
Okay.
even like when my students leave, I'm actually one of the people that go out and help the ones that don't qualify for supported employment. So I go out and help them. So I'm one of the resources for my students that we get employed, even the work-based learning students who are getting paid employment. I'm the one that goes and follows them and makes sure that they're onboarding for it.
So, I don't know if you've heard of the Disability Pathfinder Services. They are like the clearinghouse of disability services for anyone, right? For a person with a disability, for people supporting them, whomever. And so I would encourage you to contact them, and they have all of the information, whether it be funded through the state, you know, federal, private pay, whatever that looks like. So if you need information, I always direct people to start there.
And a parent is like, if you were a parent of this person,
Perfect place to start.
that would be a good place to
Yes,
start.
absolutely.
There's also Transition Tennessee.
Transition Tennessee for.
And another overlap.
Yeah, that's where, yeah.
There's the ARC, there's Easter Seal.
Yeah,
I mean, there's the ARC, Easter Seal. I mean, the nice thing that I've noticed as an employer is, guess what? It's like you just throw it out there. You're gonna hit somebody, and once you make that relationship, trust me,
Yeah.
it's wildfire, especially for the employer. It's really helped me. I mean, you talk about costs of advertising. I don't think we've spent anything advertising. Why? Because we were able to meet some of the right partners. They do it for you.
Yeah.
They say that it
So-
now becomes word of mouth.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too, because you could probably hit her and me, because, you know, that's what he does. He sends me an email, well, I get them all the time, that says when they're hiring, how much they're hiring for, what are they looking for, and we can put that pool out there to our students who need that. So, and I work with 8 of the high schools here in our county, so I throw it all out to those, you know, work-based learning teachers that I have on SPED side, and of course, she's got all. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, the most
And it's
encouraging thing to me, sitting in here, is that it is very evident that they are very passionate about what they're doing. They know each other. That's a big thing, because a lot of times you think, okay, well, I can only call this person, and then we're the only one that can help you, don't look at anybody else. That is not what you get and what you're getting right here with this right now. There's overlap everywhere with all of the services that are in this room. And, you know, at the end of the day, I've said it before, if your heart is in it for the student or your employee, everything else is gonna work out. So, you know, that was a great question that you said about, you know, what do you do when you can't see what that, well, that's the case for all of us, you know, because every one of us could, you know, have bad days and things that we struggle with, and so, you know, it is very helpful to have that. I know Amber and her team, they are amazing. I mean, I know all of these people are here for us and for our students and workers in Rutherford County, and so you were given a whole lot of websites today. I'm sure some of you have business cards, and I would highly recommend passing them out and getting on the list for them to send out their information about the different opportunities that they have. And the cool thing for me is that it's almost a case-by-case basis. And so what they were saying about getting, you know, the door slammed in your face with the initial application, sometimes if there was a different way that you could make that connection, you could have an employee for life. And so that's, you know, I know we have a testimonial here on and how it's working and working well. So are there any other questions that you all have at this time? Yes.
Do you all provide the training for, you mentioned earlier about educating your current staff in working with those of diverse abilities? Do you all have the resources to provide that training? Or is that something that we would just have to dig up?
So, no, Voc Rehab will go in and do some of that. I don't know if we did it for you or if you.
No, I think I said, so we went out and found a company like James Emmett Company.
Right.
They helped us. So what they did is they incorporated kind of our mission and values and beliefs and helped us put something together locally. But I'm sure there's the government resources that can come in and do that for you.
Yeah, and I have staff across the state who, that's exactly what we can do, is come in and help you kind of. You know.
Okay, and then we also, it's childcare, but can these same people work with the children at the site to help teach them about, you know, how to work with someone?
I guess I don't understand.
Well,
Like you have.
We work with them.
Is there?
Yeah, I think they could.
Okay.
Curriculums to be used with younger children.
Kind of like disability, like sensitivity training and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, yeah. One of the things that we try, and like Nick was saying, all rules out the window, but, you know, we try to teach people first language, and that they're people first. You know, so someone might use a wheelchair for mobility, they're not wheelchair bound. But that's, you know, that's kind of how all of us were raised, so, and you know, there's different rules for different things, because like, you would think it would be a person with a visual impairment, nope, they want to be called blind. So, but, you know, learning some people first language is a good start.
and it is a skill for your employees. It is not something that they're gonna be okay. You know, it is something that you do need to address, and it goes back to the people and the learned skills and things that even in, you know, children that we can help them with.
But don't let like your lack of experience or knowledge or fear of saying the wrong thing stop you by any means. I mean, just go out there, and if, you know, something goes amiss, that person will redirect you, and no one's gonna be offended, right? Everyone's here trying on the same level, so don't let that be a barrier.
Yeah. Have you had success with manufacturing and also maybe office work as well?
Manufacturing, we tried it. Our students made it through, 7 months being there, and the primary problem was the heat factor. If they're in a building and it's not climate controlled, that was our primary concern, which, you know, that's for anybody. And then an office setting, we actually have our students do internships through the personnel office, so they learn all of the personal information is confidential. They go through all of that process. We haven't successfully gotten past doors, so our students were on it, but getting past that stigmata, because a lot of times they were autistic, student with autism. So they couldn't get past that barrier. So that's where you guys can come in, is to look at the actual individual versus the disability, because a lot of times they come off as very to the point, because they are to the point. Nobody's gonna, give you the other way. I don't know. Sometimes they're way to the point. But that was a turnoff for a lot of times. So we haven't been successful with office placement yet, but only because of COVID, because we just tried to start this 3 years ago, where we started putting them with the HR, the business office, all of the things, and pushing through those doors and past those stigmata.
Can I say something real quick
Yes,
before
we have
everybody
like
gets
30
out here?
seconds.
Okay, so the state of Tennessee, the Voc Rehab Division has a comprehensive rehabilitation facility right here in Smyrna, the Tennessee Rehabilitation Center. It is normally a residential training facility for individuals with disabilities. Majority of them are 18 to 22, but there are older folks. And they do have a training program in business services. They have auto maintenance and detailing. They have hospitality and food service. What else? Help me.
We haven't been able to.
They're trying to get manufacturing up and running. They
Thought they
have a
had
farm tech,
manufacturing.
pharmacy tech, and a retail division. But I think right now COVID's got a hold of them.
Yeah.
And they're limited on, who they can have on campus, because they are living in like a dorm-like setting. But they're online, check that out, because they're doing a lot of good training and they do a lot of good work over there. So.
Yeah. In the past few years, COVID really hit us, because our first year of the COVID was, we had 12 full students, and then it hit right in our prime time of hiring students, because if our students are ready to go by November, we start finding them a job. If they're ready to get out of school and they're done with the program, we start finding them a job in November, and it trickles all the way till May when school ends. Because it's a full school year, but if they're ready to go, we let them go with whoever they want to go with. So.
All right, well, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all for